You and I are about to
known together
watch
for 2
some
years. You love
actual
me,
true
but
stories
be
caught
honest with me,
on
like-
tape.
You're like not into
The
what
cameras
I'm in.
document the deep pain caused when a partner steps out. The show stands with the loyal, serving up justice to the deceitful, hoping they might finally find some morals and decency. Later on in this wild episode of Cheaters, she hooked a chain on him and he walked inside like a dog. The investigators had their location pinned. They tracked them straight to a goth club. The confrontation erupted with defensive shouting and screaming. He yelled about her wearing leather and carrying a whip. Real reality television, brought to you by the Cheaters team. The private investigators are on the case. Welcome back to the chaos. You and I are jumping into another volatile episode. The very first case involves Christian Boyd, a youth minister struggling with where his relationship was heading. He feared his girlfriend's shady behavior meant trouble in paradise. So Christian called in the professionals. He had been dating Celeste for 2 years since meeting at a wedding. From the very first moment he laid eyes on her, she seemed completely different. He thought she was gorgeous, hilarious, and perfect. She stood out from the girls at his church, which completely drew him to her. She was more spiritual than religious, but he still convinced her to attend Sunday services. She showed up occasionally, and that meant the world to him. But recently, she completely stopped showing up. Ever since that shift, things felt incredibly off. Enter Celeste, age 30, a waitress suspected of serving up some extra attention to another man. After getting the gritty details from Christian, investigators kicked things off by staking out her apartment. A while later, the surveillance team watched in total shock as a scene erupted outside. Celeste stormed out of the building and forced an unidentified man down onto his knees. She then secured a dog collar and leash onto him. Holding the leash tightly, she dragged her new pet inside. Christian claimed she used to check in constantly, texting and chatting with him all day long. Despite daily calls, she always kept a strange veil of secrecy over her own apartment. He noticed a specific locked room she refused to let him enter, deflecting any questions asked. She would always dodge the topic entirely. But one afternoon, she left for the store. Christian let his curiosity win. He snooped inside the forbidden room and found a stash. The place was filled with adult toys, heavy leather harnesses and chains. He had zero clue what any of that gear was used for, leaving him utterly shell-shocked. If it was just a personal hobby, he wished she would have just communicated that honestly. But he had no idea if she was experimenting alone or using the gear with someone else. Knowing the trail was getting hot, the investigators kept their cameras glued to the building. Hours later, the mystery man finally walked outside without a shirt. Christian desperately wanted to believe that if she was cheating, he could somehow find a way to forgive her. He leaned on his faith, reminding himself that only God judges and grants absolute forgiveness. He hoped he could find grace in his own heart, but the uncertainty was eating him alive, especially if he caught her with another man. Stick with me here. Christian didn't know how he would react. He couldn't do it anymore. He couldn't take the lies. He just wanted her to be honest and explain what was really going on. Only time would tell what investigators found. Encouraged by previous surveillance, let's watch as Cheaters investigators continue staking out the suspect's apartment. After some time, investigators spotted the suspect, Celeste. She was clad in full leather, leaving her building to enter a waiting car. Private eyes tailed the vehicle as Celeste and her driver cruised straight through downtown. Heading into the arts district, the improbable couple parked their car. Celeste patted her driver, identified as Christopher Lane, on the head. The alleged dominatrix escorted her submissive to a specialty shop. A little while later, the dom and her sub reappeared. Her boy toy now sported a heavy leather bondage harness. Mistress Celeste sharply cracked her whip. She grabbed Lane whenever he became too independent and wandered too far ahead. Lane opened the car door, and Celeste handed him her whip. The suspect then slid right into the car. Lane dutifully closed the car door behind her. He quickly climbed into the driver's seat. Followed closely by the Cheaters team, their vehicle traveled right back to the suspect's residence. Celeste stepped out and briefly said her goodbyes. She grandly shut the door and walked away ending that day's surveillance run. But Cheater's agents stuck to the stakeout. Eventually, the suspect made her appearance and slipped into Lane's waiting vehicle. The Cheaters team discreetly followed them. Lane and his mistress traveled downtown once again toward the arts district. Celeste led her boy toy, fully clad in his new harness, straight into a bar. A Cheaters detective sneaked into the show to capture video footage of the dom and sub. Throughout the evening, Celeste forcefully asserted her dominance over Lane. Sometime later, the suspect led her companion back to the waiting vehicle. The fetish couple drove through town, closely trailed by the entire Cheaters team. They finally returned to the suspect's residence. Let's listen as a tough call reaches a distraught Christian. Coming up next, the ultimate confrontation. Now that the suspect had officially confirmed Christian's worst fears, Cheaters put a final call out to the anxious young man. Terrified of hearing the dark news, Christian nevertheless decided to attend the official Cheaters report. The lead investigator greeted him warmly, thanking Christian for having the courage to meet that evening. He asked if Christian was ready to see the evidence you and I are about to watch. The footage from the recent surveillance. He agreed now was as good a time as any. The host solemnly nodded. He explained that their investigation began outside of Celeste's residence. Moments passed before a man in a black shirt appeared, followed closely by Celeste. She threw something on the ground sharply, demanding that he pick it up. He watched the man drop to his knees with his hands raised. You and I are watching this together. She shoves him right to the ground. She wore a full dominatrix outfit. She snapped a heavy collar and chain onto him. He crawled inside like a dog. The investigator asked if that was his girlfriend. Christian confirmed it was her. The man walked out. The stranger emerged completely shirtless, wearing nothing but that thick neck collar. That was just day one surveillance. When asked what was going through his mind, Christian was desperately trying to figure it out. He simply did not understand how this happened. He had no idea what this lifestyle was, or how she could secretly do these shocking things. He was lost. Let's look at this next piece together. The cameras waited outside Celeste's residence. A little while later, she emerged. She was dressed entirely in leather, gripping a 9-foot-long bullwhip in her hands. She entered a waiting vehicle with an unknown driver eventually arriving downtown. The car parked. The driver was the same gentleman from our previous surveillance tape. Celeste stepped out holding that bullwhip. She literally petted the man right on his head, treating him exactly like a dog. During this exact time frame, Celeste unexpectedly received a phone call from Christian. We are about to hear the exact audio from that bizarre phone conversation. Christian was asked if he remembered the call. He nodded. On the tape, they exchanged greetings. They casually said hello. Christian asked how it was going. Meanwhile, she aggressively yelled at her submissive. Confused Christian asked what she said. He was just checking on her day. She lied, claiming she was working. She brushed it off, pretending she was talking to her boss. She claimed they made her walk a dog, then smoothly mentioned cooking dinner for him tonight. She casually asked if he wanted to visit. Unbelievable. Thinking it was sweet, he promised to see her when she got home. He awkwardly agreed to the plan. They promised to call each other and said their sweet goodbyes. Watching the tape, Christian clearly remembered that deceptive phone call. He noted bitterly that she never mentioned forcing a guy into a human seating bench. After finishing that deceptive phone call, she hung up and they entered a novelty store. When they finally walked out, the gentleman wore a full leather chest harness, fully equipped with heavy steel loops. He also had a collar on. He escorted her to the vehicle. He climbed into the driver's seat and returned to her residence. The footage showed Celeste getting out of the car and aggressively slamming the door shut. She walked inside. Christian explained that she was never particularly religious before they met, but this was beyond extreme. It felt completely wrong. It is far from normal. You and I are about to see where they are now. They are currently together at a local underground Gothic club. Let's look. Ironically, it is called The Church. The crew hits the road right away to confront the cheating pair in person. They asked if Christian was ready. It was truly now or never. The suspect was spotted wearing a hat. She coldly claimed she had warned him beforehand. The confused client immediately demanded his mask back. Christian was disgusted by her outfit, but she insisted the man was a client. A client, Christian was completely speechless. She defended herself, insisting she had been entirely upfront with her horrified boyfriend. She casually noted he could have joined them. She stood there fully dressed in leather, tightly gripping a heavy whip. She aggressively defended her bizarre choices, claiming this was simply a lifestyle. Stick with me. We are reaching the dramatic conclusion. Investigators tracked the two suspects down. They were hiding out at a local Gothic fetish club. She reminded Christian he could have participated, leaving him staring at the weird client. He questioned her crazy clothes. She defended her paying client. She firmly defended her highly controversial lifestyle. The crew asked the terrified client if he understood the reality of this confrontation. She tried to calm a devastated Christian, swearing her love for him. They had been dating for 2 years, making her toxic betrayal sting even worse. Christian felt entirely blindsided by her shocking lack of basic honesty. She argued that he simply wasn't into her kinks, then requested a private conversation. Christian agreed to hear her out. The investigator pressed the bewildered client, demanding to know if he understood the situation. Silence. The client played completely dumb, claiming he had no idea why Christian was upset. The host bluntly asked if they slept together, soon revealing she was actively charging the strange man. The client admitted it was financial, though he foolishly assumed it would spark a real romantic relationship. She confessed to meeting this paying client at a recent underground fetish ball. She justified it, claiming they simply shared the exact same unusual kinks. The host demanded to know why she kept her devoted boyfriend completely in the dark for over 2 years. She falsely claimed she told Christian, but the tension in the club was rapidly boiling over. Christian questioned her feelings, deeply hurt, insisting that her deceitful double life was not what true love meant. She declared her love, while Christian struggled to grasp why another man was paying his girlfriend for intimacy. She callously blamed Christian for rejecting the intense type of intimacy she craved. She coldly brushed off the twisted situation entirely. Christian demanded honesty, but she ruthlessly fired back that he was the one choosing to wait until marriage. She selfishly asked what else she was expected to do to satisfy herself. Christian defended his traditional values, believing physical intimacy was special. Meanwhile, the client foolishly thought that spending more cash would eventually buy him a genuine, lasting relationship. He swore he had absolutely no clue his dominatrix already had a serious boyfriend. He claimed to be a good boy. The crew easily observed exactly how strictly she had been treating her paying submissive. So what do you and I think? The client clearly loves women dominating him. The client told him he understood his very unique lifestyle choices. He thought it was cool, but firmly believed he was the only guy she saw. The boyfriend had no clue a real relationship was involved. It was completely bizarre. You and I are watching the absolute weirdest situation unfold. Pointing at the dog mask, someone joked about him becoming a pet for the night. The investigator calmly explained he was just trying to get her side of the story. From the boyfriend's perspective, the two of them had been together for almost 2 years. He simply had no idea that another man was involved here. The bewildered client claimed this secret life was completely outside his paid contract. He started wondering aloud if there were even more paying clients involved. Celeste defensively tried to explain it was just her job. She admitted having multiple clients, prompting them to ask exactly how many people. She mentioned there were a few, playfully asking if he wanted to join in. The boyfriend quickly shot that down, wanting absolutely no part of her twisted games. He just called it stupid. The host told her she could not leave yet, urging her to tell the absolute truth. He told her to either commit to him or stop wasting the poor guy's time. The host reminded the boyfriend the final choice was his. Let's be real. You and I know she was acting like she lived on another planet. The client seemed coherent, while she was acting totally unpredictable. Someone aggressively offered him the whip. The attention suddenly shifted back around. He refused to use the dirty prop, loudly questioning where it had even been. He swore to handle the guy, but he completely refused to use the whip. He declared the entire twisted situation was just absolute garbage. He noticed the strange leather harness. The crew stepped back. He begged to know if she honestly wanted this life. The host reminded Celeste that she once had a committed relationship with the heartbroken man standing there. She admitted craving attention, just not this overwhelmingly negative type of exposure. He called it ridiculous, questioning why she couldn't just be honest from the very start. He felt severely tempted to react. The furious boyfriend felt completely pushed. Frustrated, he cursed and threatened to go back inside. He yelled that he would enjoy his night as she walked away. He loudly insisted he was going to enjoy the club tonight. Someone begged Celeste to talk, but she had already disappeared from the chaotic scene. The investigator pressed to find out exactly when their romantic relationship actually ended. He noted that the betrayed boyfriend said she stopped texting and visiting him entirely. The host understood, but still demanded her true reasoning. She honestly claimed she just got incredibly busy, which was a terrible excuse. She complained that her secret life was extremely time-consuming to manage. She struggled to explain that she simply could not keep up with everything happening. We can all see keeping a boyfriend was impossible with so many clients to satisfy. Let's step right into the chaos. The side piece demanded she tell her boyfriend instead of ordering him around. He was visibly frustrated. He hated sneaking around like this. Avoiding trouble, he just agreed to see her again the following Thursday. She agreed, told him to text. The devastated boyfriend was asked how he felt, confessing he truly believed she was his future wife. Now he was watching her in leather, with a guy wearing a harness and a dog mask. That sight completely crushed him. Standing there frozen, he had absolutely no idea how to process the bizarre betrayal. Overwhelmed, he shoved past the camera crew, begging everyone to just get out of his way. But moments later, he approached her, reminding her that he was a forgiving guy. He insisted he could be incredibly understanding despite the obvious shock and pain. He loved her deeply and simply refused to let their relationship end. He declared his love. She softly said she loved him too, asking if they could salvage the night. The host gave him the choice. The crew offered to remove their microphones so the couple could hang out privately. He suggested they return for the show's counseling services to sit down and talk later. The boyfriend begged her to explain her secret world, promising he would really try to understand. He noted how she supported him through his own personal struggles. She was understanding about his church issues, so he promised to show the same grace. He hoped they could find middle ground. She quietly agreed. He asked the crew for some space. Deciding to leave with her, the host interjected with one final question. Let's see how this plays out. The host asked if they wanted to talk about this massive step. The boyfriend acknowledged their long history, pointing out they had been together quite a while. The host nodded approvingly. He encouraged them to stay together and explore each other's obvious wild fantasies. She accepted his deep religious faith, and now the boyfriend was trying his best to accept her hidden alternative lifestyle. He admitted this dark world was completely new, but promised he was willing to try. The host thanked them, warning the girlfriend to be honest with her man in the future. He urged her to communicate, ensuring a wild confrontation like this wouldn't happen again. She felt terrible. You and I both know this situation is crazy. He firmly refused to put on a dog mask, though. The host teased about someday, while the boyfriend expressed gratitude for the help. The host sincerely wished them the best. He paused briefly. He told them to have a safe night wrapping up. Despite the absolute shock of the confrontation, Christian realized he desperately needed some deep soul searching before taking any permanent action. Later on, Cheaters reveals his plans. But up next is previous suspect Mike Jones. Today, you and I are looking back at the night he got busted. That confrontation night really caught him totally off guard. He was just having a typical motorcycle club meeting with his guys. A weekly thing, beers and burgers on the grill. Then the production van suddenly pulled up to the spot. Seeing the camera lights, he instantly knew what was going down, though a part of him wanted to play it off. Still, he realized it was finally his time to stand up and take responsibility for his betrayal. Are you serious, hey? Hey, what the, babe? Babe, listen. Babe, please. Hey, oh, hey. Are you serious? Mike, get out of here. You see, he had made the selfish choice to cheat on Stephanie. She had been sitting in jail for 4 months, which obviously didn't excuse his terrible betrayal. He used the classic cop-out, claiming he was a man with physical needs. That's when he met the other woman, Brittany, and they started talking. He tossed the idea of infidelity around in his head for about a solid month before finally making his move on the new girl. He honestly intended the hookup to just be a quick, one-time fling, hoping that everyone involved would get what they wanted with zero hurt feelings. But obviously, in reality, that is not how the scandal ended. I cannot trust you anymore. You can't leave. I can't. She can leave. We can move on. I can leave. You piece of trash. Yeah, I can leave. Why don't you get out? Yeah. Why don't I leave? You are all in my freaking clubhouse. Hey, come on. Looking back, he felt he learned a lot out of the messy situation. Right after the explosive confrontation, he decided the best move was to completely remove himself from the drama. Yeah, he took some time alone with his motorcycle on the open highway, but he also realized he desperately needed to take responsibility for his terrible actions and at least try to offer up a truly sincere apology to both women. He gave it about a week. Then finally, he made some phone calls. Unfortunately, he just could not get an answer from either woman, and he took that absolute silence as answer enough. He felt like at that point, the best thing to do, the only thing for him to do, was just fully separate himself. Really just twist the throttle, catch the wind in his hair, and finally see something completely new. Now stick with me here. After the confrontation, Christian Boyd decided to work things out with the suspect. Christian flat out told the cheater's producers, "This wild lifestyle is definitely not for me. But as long as there is zero funny business going on behind my back, then I'm fully open to Celeste exploring." Against all odds, Christian and the suspect kept seeing each other. As for her side of the story, the suspect Celeste gave cheaters this excuse. "I really wanted Christian to explore this lifestyle with me. He knows I never cheated, and I would rather be upfront and honest anyway." Today, the suspect no longer sees her submissive sidekick. When questioned by our team, the companion Christopher Lane admitted that he and the suspect are now completely finished. Now, you and I know if you skip Goldstein's programming, then we both lose money.